I was the kid who always was in the back of the room that no one really hung out with. You know, at an early age, I had an idea what it would feel like to be treated as though you had leprosy. When I got older and I started playing in bands, a couple guys that I was playing with, these guys that are supposed to be my friends, that I've been hanging out with and praying with for ever since I've been a Christian, all of a sudden it's like they act like I got leprosy or something. That's when it clicked. And you know, I thought that would be a cool thing to call myself. And you know, and I was already had started going around coffee houses around Cleveland looking for open mics and any opportunity I could to just play, because I just love to play. And the more I thought about it, you know, I started thinking about like the veil and how cool would that be if I walked into a venue and was wearing this and nobody knew who really I was, and then I didn't take it off until after I was gone. I would be, you know, someone anonymous would kind of defend me away from getting all puffed up. Like, you know, I couldn't walk down the street and the average person would see me and say, "Hey, you're that guy from that band," and I wouldn't be able to have the opportunity to say, yes, I am. Goth, in general, is about art and that which is elaborate. It's about that which is ancient, and there is some sacredness to it. There is a sense of the macabre, of course, you know, and that is the intriguing thing. But there's something horrifyingly romantic about it all, in the literary sense of romantic. Also the romantic, you know, the lovingness side of it all. To think that somebody who's not into the goth scene can't really relate to a love song, well, that's just kind of silly. And I've heard that argument that, you know, I'm not a goth, so I don't like that kind of stuff. But ironically, you know, really, there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't labeled quote-unquote goth that is what goth comes from, you know, in music, that is. I've had people make the complaint that, well, I don't see how you can write all that depressing goth music. Isn't that all about death? And of course, Leper has never really had that many songs about death. It's not something I typically sing about, so I wrote a song about specifically death. And what does death mean? What does it mean to die? I know people who have had people die, you know, their family members die, and that makes me think, you know, what would happen if my wife died? You know, how would I deal with that? So I wrote a song about it. I still sing about hopelessness, you know, feeling hopeless, and what do you do about that? A lot of times I get that way. You know, I have been a Christian for a long time, and I think it's foolish for a Christian to say, I never get hopeless anymore. You know, I never feel sad. I think that's baloney. How do I deal with myself? How do you reconcile the things that you believe? How do you reconcile the things you don't believe? You know, how do you reconcile situations and circumstance? How? You know, we may not all have the answers to that, but we all have those questions. And I don't think there's anybody on earth who's not seeking those things out and trying to figure those things out.
That's the way it all unfolds. Stories clear, master flow. To love the least of these is loving me.
But I know that there's a lot of other kids out there that they feel like nobody wants them around, and they feel like, you know, socially they're lepers. there's people out there that are hurting. And like I said, they feel like nobody wants them around. But, Leper is an effort to show those people that they're not really alone as much as they think. That has absolutely become what Leper is about. How would I represent all that? I don't know. I guess I just do what I do, and if somebody likes it, they like it. If they don't, they don't.